p.m. This is the Planning and Zoning meeting of the City of Boca Raton. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I just want to make an announcement that if anybody is wishing to speak tonight, then you're all welcome to. Please fill out a card, so we'll have it for the record. Thank you. Jamie, please call, oh, not Jamie, Karen, please
Yes.
call the roll.
Absolutely. Chair Seville?
Here.
Seville, okay. Larry Salon?
Here.
Christian Ritchie?
It's absent.
Timothy Dornblazer?
Here.
Dorothy McDermott?
Here.
Gregory Mitchell?
Present.
And Chaim Morgan?
He's
Absent.
absent.
So noted. You do have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Okay, with that, do we have any amendments to the agenda? I don't think so tonight. If not, we have the minutes of May 1st, 2025. I'll look for a motion in a second.
So motioned. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Excuse me,
Aye.
I didn't get the name. Seconded by Mitchell, first by,
First by Mitchell,
Second.
second by Dornblazer.
thank you so much.
Okay. You'll get used to us before the end of the evening. Okay. With that, we have quasi-judicial public hearings tonight, and I would ask the city attorney to explain the process to the audience.
Evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Chris Fernandez, City Attorney's Office. The rules of the City Council provide that each applicant requesting approval, relief, or other action from the Planning and Zoning Board shall disclose at the commencement of the public hearing any consideration provided or committed directly or on its behalf for an agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested relief or action. A copy of the quasi-judicial rules governing tonight's public hearing are attached to the agenda and are available from the city clerk.
Okay. Would everyone that's going to speak tonight please rise and be sworn in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, everyone. The first item is Bristol Point, and this item has 7 items in it, and I would ask Karen to please read these into the record.
The first item is Article A, Bristol Point, 6800 North Federal Highway. The public hearings on items 5A1, 5A2, 5A3, 5A4, 5A5, 5A6, and 5A7 will be conducted contemporaneously, as the items are related. A separate vote will be taken on each item. Recommendation to the City Council regarding item 1. An ordinance of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 2.17 acre property, generally located at 6800 North Federal Highway, a universal conditional amendment to the future land use map of the comprehensive plan pursuant to Article 6, Chapter 23, Code of Ordinances, from Commercial C to Residential Medium, or RM, subject to conditions, providing for revisions to the future land use map, providing for repealer, providing an effective date. UC 2302/SC/PZ/CPM 2023-00006. Article 2, an ordinance of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 2.17 acre property generally located at 6800 North Federal Highway, a universal conditional UC amendment to the future land use map of the comprehensive plan pursuant to Article 6, Chapter 23, Code of Ordinances, from Commercial C to Residential Medium, or RM, subject to conditions, providing for revisions to the future land use map, providing for repealer, providing an effective date. UC 2302/Z as in zebra C, PZ, C as in Charlie, PM 2023-00006. Article 3, a resolution of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 2.17 acre property generally located at 6800 North Federal Highway, accepting and approving the plat known as Briscoe Point at Boca Harbor, a replat of a portion of the south 400 feet of Tract 15 in Section 32, Township 46, South Range 43 East, pursuant to a universal conditional UC request, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the plat, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date. UC 2302/sub/PZ CPM -2023-00006. Article 4, a resolution of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 2.17 acre property generally located at 6800 North Federal Highway, a planned development, PD, master plan, and a site plan pursuant to a universal conditional or UC request to authorize construction of a total of 20 residential units comprised of 16 units in 8 two-story, approximately 21-foot, 8-inch tall duplex buildings, and 1 4-unit, two-story, approximately 21-foot, 8-inch tall townhouse building, and related on-site and off-site improvements, including sidewalks in the Appleby Street and Berkeley Street rights-of-way, approving modifications of development parameters for plot width, plot depth, plot coverage, required yards, balcony encroachments, pool deck encroachments, pool setbacks, perimeter building setbacks, landscaped perimeter yards, and right-of-way width, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date. UC 2302/PD/SPA/PZ CPM -2023-00006. Article 5, a resolution of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 1.08 acre property generally located at 6750 North Federal Highway, the abandonment of a 6,049 square foot portion of a required 25-foot wide right-of-way known as Appleby Street, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date, AB 2304/PZ CPM -2023-00006. Article 6, a resolution of the City of Boca Raton considering for an approximately 0.88 acre property generally located at 685 Berkeley Street, the abandonment of a 5,946 square foot portion of a required 25-foot wide right-of-way known as Appleby Street, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date, AB 2305/PZ CPM -2023-00006. Final action of the Planning and Zoning Board regarding Article 7, a resolution of the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Boca Raton considering for the approximately 1.08 acre property generally located at 6750 North Federal Highway, a variance request from Section 28-3043 Code of Ordinances to allow a 5-foot landscaped yard in lieu of the 30-foot landscaped yard, a 25-foot reduction, required where a business district is separated by an alley or street of 4 lanes or less, excluding turn lanes, from a residential district, providing an effective date. V as in Victor A, 2409/PZ CPM -2023-00006.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone had any ex parte communications? Ms. McDermott?
Yes, I spoke with Bonnie and David.
Okay. Mr. Mitchell?
I corresponded with her secretary, Bonnie's secretary, but did not speak to her.
Okay. Mr. Nobleza?
None.
Mrs. Sly?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had a phone conversation with Bonnie Miskell discussing the merits of the case.
Okay. I had a Zoom call with Bonnie Miskell, David Millage, Beth Schrantz, and I visited the site. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to Peter Begovich.
Good evening. For the record, Peter Begovich for the Development Services Department. And I'll be presenting the Bristol Point at Boca Harbor planned development located at 6800 North Federal Highway, which is application 1, together with a right-of-way abandonment and a variance for Arturo's Restaurant at 6750 North Federal Highway, which is application 2, and a right-of-way abandonment for Gismondi Townhouses at 685 Berkeley Street, which is application 3. It should be noted that since the agenda package was distributed, updated drawings have been provided by the applicant to provide a 6-foot-tall masonry wall on the property line abutting the single-family homes in Boca Harbor instead of a vinyl composite fence. Staff has reviewed and approved the revisions. As such, this presentation was updated to reflect the revised drawings, which have also been provided on the dais. Application 1 for Bristol Point is for a universal conditional application for future land use map amendment from commercial to residential medium, a rezoning from the motel business district to the residential multifamily R3 district, a subdivision plat, a plan development master plan, including the modifications of development parameters, site plan approval to construct 20 units in 8 duplexes and 2-story duplexes, and 1 4-unit 2-story townhouse that are all approximately 22 feet tall. Application 2 for Arturo's Restaurant is an abandonment of a portion of the right-of-way for Appleby Street and a variance from section 28-304-3 to allow a 5-foot landscape yard in lieu of a 30-foot landscape yard. And an application 3 for Gismondi Townhouses is for the abandonment of portions of the 25-foot right-of-way for Appleby Street. All 3 applications are needed to develop the approximately 2.17-acre Bristol Point property located on the east side of North Federal Highway, generally between Berkeley Street and Northeast 70th Street. The Bristol Point property and Arturo's Restaurant are zoned motel business and have a future land use designation of commercial. Gismondi Townhomes is zoned R3 and has residential multifamily and has a future land use designation of residential medium. As previously stated, application 1 for Bristol Point includes rezoning and a flume amendment. The project proposes to amend the future land use designation of the property from commercial to residential medium, 9.5 units per acre. Staff has reviewed the proposed land use change in regards to 3 things: consistency with the comprehensive plan and city code, compatibility with surrounding land use and development, and the availability of public services to the subject property, also known as a concurrency evaluation. Staff found that the proposed flume amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan and city code. The RM future land use designation will provide a better transition between the lower density single-family homes to the east and the restaurants, offices, and nursing school with the more intense commercial future land use designation to the west than if the property remained with a commercial future land use designation. Regarding concurrency, staff evaluated the demand for public services that would be generated by uses on the site plan and found that the development will be adequately served by public facilities and will not negatively impact the regional roadway network, public school facilities, or natural resources. The proposed future land use amendment is tied to the proposed site plan. The property is currently zoned motel business, RB1, and allows for a maximum of about 47,262 square feet of commercial development. The proposed R3 multifamily residential zoning allows for 9.5 units an acre. The proposed rezoning from RB1 to R3 is consistent and compatible transition between the R1C zoning district to the east and the R3 zoning district to the south, and the RB1 zoning district to the north, south, and west. The proposed two-story duplexes and townhouses are compatible with the adjacent townhouses, single-family, and commercial uses. Application 1 is reasonable and appropriate and consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and the rezoning is also tied to the site plan. So now, here's a colorized site plan rendering that shows the location of the 8 duplexes and the 1 townhouse for a total of 20 units. The site plan that was distributed, like I said previously, included a masonry wall between the Bristol Point community and the commercially zoned property to the north and west, and the vinyl composite fence separating it from the single family to the east. But those plans were revised on Wednesday to provide, and I've outlined it in orange to show you generally where the masonry wall will be, is proposed currently. So to create the 20 lots and the roadway tracks and the open space areas, a plat is required, and that will establish the 20 fee simple lots, as well as other essential features of application 1. A plan development master plan approval allows for modifications to R3 zoning district and plan development requirements. In accordance with section 281720, development parameters, including R3 zoning district requirements and certain plan development requires may be reasonably modified. Staff has reviewed the request and found that the modifications are reasonable and necessary due to the conditions of the property and the design of the site plan. Staff notes that most of the requested exceptions to development parameters are the result of designing the project with fee simple lots and would not be required if the applicant developed the project as a collection of condominium buildings on a single plot. So here are some architectural renderings of the Style A duplex buildings, which are located near the entrance, just north of Arturo's Restaurant generally. Towards the north and east section of the neighborhood are where you'll find 4 duplexes, which are the larger B-style duplexes. And then the single townhouse style building, or it's actually a townhouse, is on the southeast corner of the development. Oh, sorry. A little bit of context. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about that. Just flying through it. Okay. So the project abuts 5 single-family homes to the east and north. All 5 single-family homes are single-story ranch-style houses constructed in the early 1970s. The proposed 21-foot 8-inch building height, flat roofs, short parapets, and the 26-foot 10-inch rear setback are visually compatible with the scale and massing of the neighboring properties, specifically the neighboring properties to the east and north. The proposed rear setback and heights are also compatible and consistent with the single-family homes to the east, which have the same 25-foot rear setback requirement and a greater building height potential, with potential roof heights of 25 to 35 feet allowed in single-family districts than the proposed building heights of Bristol Point. Additionally, the landscape yard screening the duplexes and townhomes from the single-family homes include a continuous hedge of clusia, pitch apple, and Eagleston holly trees, as well as sable palms, which will create a dense buffer between the existing and the proposed homes. The townhouse's architectural style, combined with an earth tone color palette, will also coordinate with the late 20th century contemporary office building to the north and the Mediterranean Revival style restaurant and townhouse style community, Gismondi townhouses to the south. The applicant has proposed to provide a 5-foot wide sidewalk and crosswalk within the Appleby Street right-of-way between Northeast 7th Avenue and the Bristol Point community. That's continuing to remain a city right-of-way, which will complete the pedestrian connection between Northwest 7th Avenue and Federal Highway. In lieu of providing a sidewalk on the south side of the proposed street within Bristol Point, with what would have been an Arturo's restaurant. The applicant proposed to extend an existing 5-foot wide sidewalk on the south side of Berkeley Street that currently terminates mid-block and continue it east to 7th Avenue. The sidewalk extension will enhance the overall neighborhood sidewalk network and increase walkability in the surrounding community. As previously stated, Application 2 and Application 3 include a request for an abandonment of portions of a 25-foot right-of-way. The abandonments are required for the project to be constructed. A 25-foot wide utility easement is proposed to replace the current right-of-way to accommodate existing overhead utilities and water utility improvements that are planned for the area. An access easement is proposed by the applicant to set forth the terms of shared access and maintenance of the private street, the landscaping and irrigation that will be shared between Bristol Point, Arturo's Restaurant, and Gismondi townhomes. There are improvements shown on the site plan for the project that are within the Appleby Street right-of-way, proposed for abandonment, and will be incorporated into Arturo's Restaurant and Gismondi townhouses. The site improvements on Arturo's Restaurant and Gismondi townhouses will be permitted separately, but must be completed before a certificate of occupancy can be issued for Bristol Point. The city's water utilities or utility services department and engineering and public works department have reviewed the subject request and have no objections to the abandonment, contingent on the applicant's dedication of the 25-foot wide utility easement. Development services staff found that the right-of-way abandonment will benefit the community with the recommended conditions of approval, including requiring the dedication of the easement I discussed earlier and the construction of the sidewalks in the Appleby Street right-of-way and the Berkeley Street right-of-way. Additionally, the abandonment of the north one-half of Appleby Street has already occurred, making the construction of a complete roadway connection for Appleby Street from Federal Highway to Northeast 7th Avenue unfeasible. The required sidewalk connections serve the public welfare by enhancing the pedestrian environment and by securing a more regular and harmonious system for the circulation than currently exists. And that's language from the code. Staff has viewed the variance request and justification related to the reduction in the north landscape yard from 30 feet to 5 feet for Arturo's Restaurant, where a business, commercial, or industrial district is separated from a residential district by an alley or street of 4 lanes or less. Arturo's Restaurant received a variance in 1985 to reduce the building setback of an addition called the Herb House from 30 feet to 10 feet. And there's currently no landscape yard requirement for the property since it has a commercial zoning designation. The Herb House is shown in tan, where it says existing sable palms. The proposed variance is because the new residential development is requesting to be built closer to an existing restaurant than the code allows. The rezoning for the Bristol Point project to a residential district triggers the requirement of a variance to allow the existing restaurant site to remain as currently constructed. Staff is supportive of this variance request because the proposed residential development is designed specifically for the mixed-use context of its setting, and the commercial development requiring the variance already exists. Staff found that the applicant has met all 6 variance criteria and supports that request. So to sum it up, during the analysis of the application, staff found that the proposed future land use map amendment is compatible with the surrounding uses. There's adequate infrastructure to serve the project. The project is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The rezoning is reasonable and appropriate. The plat conforms with the subdivision regulations in Chapter 26 Code of Ordinances. The planned unit development promotes the public health, safety, comfort, order, appearance, convenience, and general welfare of the city. It answers the growing demand for housing of all types and designs, encourages innovations in residential development with greater variety in type, design, and layout of buildings than is generally possible under conventional zoning regulations, and provides more significant opportunities for housing. The site plan meets the site plan criteria, including providing building types and a landscape buffer compatible with the adjacent single-family neighborhood, townhouses, and commercial uses. and the partial right-of-way abandonment will benefit the community with the recommended conditions of approval, including requiring the dedication of that utility easement and the sidewalks that I previously mentioned. This required sidewalk connections enhance the pedestrian environment and secure that more regular and harmonious circulation. The proposed variance for Arturo's Restaurant, which will allow an existing portion of Arturo's Restaurant to remain if the rezoning is approved, and it also satisfies the variance criteria. The Community Appearance Board recommended approval of the site plan application, and the Development Services Department as well recommends approval of the applications as presented. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Ms. McDermott?
None, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Appleby Street does not connect, is what you're saying, to Federal Highway?
Currently, it does not connect.
Who owns the land that would be underneath the section that is there that is going to go away?
Underneath which?
Appleby.
Appleby?
So there's that, what appears to be the section where the far right corner,
Let me see if I can.
well, the
pull up.
picture is gone now.
I think I had a, so the 25-foot right-of-way abandonment area adjacent to Gismondi Townhomes, so it will go to Gismondi Townhomes. And then the area that's north of the Arturo's Restaurant will go to Arturo's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Mr. Dornblaser?
No questions.
Mr. Salon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Begovich, so where the townhomes are, that's 2.17 acres, and the applicant is asking to change the zoning from commercial to medium residential, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought in the package I saw somewhere about traffic counts for if it remained commercial, the potential traffic it could have versus what the applicant, could you tell us what that is?
Sure. I actually put that up on the, included that in my backup slides. I think it's the second to the last. So the future land use amendment from commercial to residential medium reduces the daily trips significantly, and the AM peak hour trips and the PM peak hour trips.
So if it remained commercial and they developed it to its full capacity, it would have 3,000 trips a day versus what the applicant's proposing, which is 135 trips a day. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
And also, just for clarification, a universal conditional amendment, that sort of ties everything together so that if they don't proceed, if, say, they don't proceed and the site plan lapses, does it revert back to commercial?
So yes, it would. Yes, it will.
So unless they build this exact same thing, it goes back to commercial.
It would go back to commercial unless they came in for an amendment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Begovich.
Anything else? Okay, the chair has no questions. With that, I'll open the public hearing and ask the petitioner to come up and state your name and address for the record. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Seville. David Millage, for the record, 14 Southeast 4th Street, Boca Raton, here on behalf of the applicant. Thank you, Development Services, Mr. Shad, Mr. Begovich, for your review of this project and your presentation. Not to duplicate anyone's efforts, but I will just walk through a couple of the slides, and then happy to answer any questions from the board. So again, this is the location of the property. It's an interesting flag-shaped old remnant piece, and what we're proposing tonight is infill development of, part of the city's urban core. So this project was an old water management tract of the village of Highland Beach for their water services. As Mr. Begovich had mentioned, this is within the RB1 motel business zoning district, which allows for a lot of intensive commercial uses. Just to name a few, just a permitted use for this project could be an office building, a gas station, a hospital, or a large FPL substation. All of these are permitted uses based off of the city's code. Also, one thing to point out is under RB1, the maximum height that is allowed is 50 feet. So there could be a 50,000 square foot, 5-story office building on this site based off of the code. And what we're really doing here is that we're trying to provide a transitional use between the more intensive commercial properties that are along Federal, which are appropriate, and transitioning to lesser and lesser intensive uses as we go east. So the proposed duplex and townhouse development here, this multifamily, would be appropriate because it keeps transitioning down to the lesser intensive uses to the east. I have additional slides, not to be repetitive from Mr. Begovich. Happy to go through it, but I'll actually just ask the board if they have any questions for me, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McDermott?
I don't have any further questions.
Mr.
I
Mitchell?
appreciate the time the other night on the phone. Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Could this be, could you put a hotel here?
Yes, as a conditional use.
So there are uses where people would stay that is permitted as it stands. It would be temporary because it's a hotel, but it would still be,
I believe a previous application came in for an ALF, and from my understanding from that application, the neighbors didn't want an ALF, although it was, a less intense commercial use, but it really wasn't desirable for the neighbors. I believe a prior owner brought that application. So between a hotel and an ALF, I guess you have some transient lodging.
thank you, no further questions.
Okay. Mr. Salon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Millage, you mentioned prior applications and neighborhood outreach. Have you done any neighborhood outreach on this program?
Yeah, so the applicant and our planner has reached out to the community. I believe they had a Zoom community meeting where they originally proposed the plans, which have since been revised based off of the community input. I believe that there is a letter of support from the Boca Harbor Association for this project.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Dornblaser?
No question.
Question? Chairos, no questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, before the public will each have 3 minutes to speak. If you filled out a card, we'll call you up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If anybody came in after everyone was sworn in and you're going to speak and you haven't been sworn in, would you please rise now? Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay. Now, do you want to call, we'll call the people up and order the cards?
Yes.
And, okay. When you come up, everybody has 3 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record.
The first card that I have is Ingrid Kolela and Hillel Presser.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for letting me speak. We are the neighbors directly north to the development on Federal Highway. Currently, I'm here to raise two concerns. The first one is it's currently very difficult to exit the parking lot into Federal Highway, and we believe that the increased traffic is going to affect us even more. And the second is we believe that a structure is going to block our view and therefore affect our business. Do you guys have any questions?
No, don't ask questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Next is Michael, and it's difficult to read your last name. I believe it's Sprisman? Spiesman.
Forgive me, I
haven't used the pencil in a few years, so.
Okay.
My name is Michael Spiesman. I'm the condo president of the Villas of Berkeley condominium, which is just south of the project.
Please state your address, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, 656 Berkeley Street, Boca Raton. I met with Michael a few days ago, and my condominium community, if you guys could stand for a second, was at the Zoom call. We wanted to speak out in favor of this project. It's replacing a kind of rundown vacant lot that I don't want to think what's going on in it, but it'd be better if it was housing. So we just wanted to come here today and speak in favor of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Clint Oster.
Karen, please reset the clock for each person.
Yes, sir.
5 minutes.
Hello, my name's Clint Oster. I live at 845 Northeast 71st Street, and for about 20 years I've been on the Boca Harbor board in one capacity or another. And we did have a meeting about this project, and initially it didn't go so well, but the fence has been changed from a vinyl fence to a CBS, so we're happy about that. And the landscaping looks pretty good, although speaking for me personally, I would rather see more sable palms and more native plants than not native plants. And then Boca Harbor is generally in support of this community. And one thing that our president, who's not here today, talked to the owner about was the Applebee abandonment of easement and the potential for maybe Boca Harbor we have an annual party where we put up a tent. And if we could do that in this area, if it was designed with that in mind, we'd be very appreciative. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker, and he had indicated maybe wish to speak. If you do, sir, please approach the speaker. Richard Sawick. Okay. The next speaker then is also a maybe, Alex Platt.
I own the house at
Well,
60.
sir, state your name and address for the record.
Alex Platt. My property address in relationship to the project would be 6801 Northeast 7th. I own that property. It's on the main corner of Applebee and 7th, and I'm totally fine with the project moving forward as is. And it's the main corner right there, so.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Eugene Lavin.
Yes, hello, I'm Eugene Lavin. I'm the owner of 6851 Northeast 7th Avenue, which is just east of the Bristol Point. Just questions and concerns in regards to construction. How long will the development take to construct? Number one. Number two, the empty lot that's there now, I think someone had mentioned before, God knows what's going on in there as far as critters, rats, snakes, coyotes. If those critters, once the demo's been done on the land itself, were to, let's say, move east versus west, will the developer pay for the costs of traps and critter control in regards to that? I'm very happy to see that the masonry fence was approved. And And those are my only questions. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Sir, your questions should probably be directed to the developer. He'll be able to answer them for you. Thank you. Okay.
The next two cards, it's not clear if it's this item that you wish to speak on. So I'll call your name if you could just let me know if it is this item or which one it is. David Board, this item? Perfect.
My name is David Board. I live at 6899 Northeast 7th Avenue. There's a lot of stuff going on behind our house on this lot. I mean, there's a lot of nasty raccoons that we have a problem with, and now we have coyotes, and we're having to deal with them. So we'd like to see this little jungle eliminated, but on the other hand, we have some real concerns that I haven't had an adequate explanation. And number one is the elevation change between these two properties is 4 to 5 feet. And I see the water coming over the edge when we have a big storm. And when we do have a big storm, if anybody would just take a walk along 7th Avenue, it's got cracks all along 7th Avenue under the storm drain. And when we get a heavy rain, the water is coming up through the cracks in the street. We do not have adequate drainage now. When we take away the drainage, the absorption of this empty lot and pave it over, how do we really know? I keep saying this thing that, oh, it's compatible, everything works fine, but we've had the water coming up through the streets. We've had one house flooded with sewage backed up, and we think this is still, all the extra runoff from this isn't going to be a problem. I think it's naive. And I think we ought to look into it. I'd like to just see, I don't know how you're going to handle these discrepancies. When Highland Beach developed their property, they put up a fence that was 4 feet behind the property line because of all of the big Australian pines that they didn't want to have to deal with. Well, now that's a no man's zone. And there's everything in there that you can imagine, and beyond, even in the flat parts. So please, please, we need to address what's going to happen with water drainage quantitatively. Not, oh, we did a study of it. Where's the study results? How's the culvert, how's the drain pipe going to go in? Where? What's it going to be supported by? How's it going to connect to is it going to connect to Federal Highway? Is it going to connect to 7th Avenue? We'd like to see some quantitative, real-world, honest answers to how you're going to handle the drainage. Okay.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Dominic Ranieri. Okay. I have a card from Mr. Richard Perez. It's not clear if this is the item you wish to speak on. You do not wish to speak? Okay. That's it, sir.
That's it? Okay, it's a public hearing. Anybody else that didn't fill out a card want to speak of this issue? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll start the voting. First item, I'll look for a motion and a second for 5A1 regarding the Florida Land Use Amendment.
Motion to approve. So seconded.
Any discussion? Mr. Salon?
Go ahead, Mr.
I mean, overall, it sounds like the community is fairly in support of it,
Yeah.
minus a few issues here and there that hopefully the applicant will work with the community on some of the drainage issues and some of the other items that were brought up here. But overall, it sounds like this is a better use than an empty, rat-infested lot.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Salon, did you want to say something?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Dornblaser. It's a great transitional use for this property and as much less traffic impact than what could be on there right now. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Anything else? Not? Please, Karen, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And Chair Civil?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next item is 5A2, which is the rezoning ordinance. Look for a motion and a second.
So motioned.
Second.
Any discussion? No. Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Seville?
Yes.
And Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next is 5A3, the plat resolution. Look for a motion and a motion and a second on that.
Motion to approve.
So seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? Karen, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Seville?
Yes.
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is 5A4, the plan development, master plan, and site plan resolution. Look for a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
So seconded.
Okay, any discussion? No? Okay. Karen, please call the roll.
Yes. Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Seville?
Yes?
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
And Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is 5A5, the, regarding the abandonment issue.
Motion to approve.
Second?
So seconded.
Any discussion? No? Okay, seems we're not having any discussion. Okay, we're good. Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Seville?
Yes?
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next is 5A6, the, regarding the abandonment ordinance. Motion, please.
Motion to approve.
So seconded.
Please call the roll, Karen.
Chair Seville?
Yes?
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Lastly is the final by the Planning and Zoning Board for the variance resolution, 5A7.
Motion
Motion
to
is-
approve.
So seconded.
Okay. Karen, please call the roll.
Chair Seville?
Yes?
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank everybody who came this evening for this item. Okay. You're welcome to stay. Okay. Yeah. Just give everybody a few minutes to clear out. We'd ruin the meeting.
We're on a roll, too.
Yes, yes. Okay, thanks, everybody. The next item is 5B, Madera Boca. Okay. Karen, please read that into the record.
Yes. Item B, Madera Boca, 400 South Dixie Highway. Recommendation to the City Redevelopment Agency regarding consideration of an individual development approval, an IDA, of the Boca Raton Community Redevelopment Agency for the Madera Boca multifamily residential project on approximately 1.71 acres, generally located at 400 South Dixie Highway, to authorize construction of a 306-unit, 12-story, 416,137 square foot multifamily residential building with a maximum height not to exceed 131 feet 2 inches, with architectural features with a maximum total height not to exceed 141 feet 11 inches, with a 7-level 147,321 square foot internal parking structure that includes 1 level of below-grade parking, along with related improvements, including sidewalk and landscaping modifications on an approximately 0.12 acre adjacent city-owned lot located along Southeast 3rd Street, and construction of a new 6-foot wide sidewalk along South Dixie Highway, together with a technical deviation from paragraph 2(4)(b)(3) of the DDRI development order to reduce the required number of off-street parking spaces from 538 spaces to 468 spaces, a reduction of 70 spaces, including an abandonment of a 12-foot wide utility easement and a portion of a 15-foot wide easement for roadway purposes, including a transfer of 127,500 square feet of office equivalent development, 44,282 square feet from downtown sub-area A, and 83,218 square feet from downtown sub-area B, based on an equivalency factor for institutional peak hour traffic generating, to downtown sub-area D, resulting in approximately 168,866 square feet of office equivalent development remaining in downtown sub-area A, and approximately 0 square feet, 46,199 square feet, of institutional non-peak hour traffic generating of office equivalent development remaining in downtown sub-area B, and approximately 412,768 square feet of office equivalent development remaining in downtown sub-area D, and including a conversion of uses, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date. CRP 2401/AB/EA/PZCRP 2024-00003.
Thank you. Okay, any ex parte communications, Mr. Salon?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I had a Zoom meeting with Ellie Zacharias discussing the merits of the case.
Okay, Mr. Dornblaser?
I had a Zoom conversation with Ellie Zacharias.
Okay. Ms. McDermott?
Same. I had a Zoom conversation with
Mr.
Ellie.
Mitchell?
Same, I had a Zoom with
Okay.
Ally.
I had a Zoom call with Ellie Zacharias. I spoke to Adam Beakley, and I also, on the call, was John Grimaldi, who represents the developer. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Jacob Gurman.
Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Jacob Gurman, Planner 2 for the city, and I'll be presenting the Modero Boca project located at 400 South Dixie Highway. The project is proposing to redevelop the approximately 1.707 acre property. The property is zoned DDRI and has a future land use designation of CBD. The applicant is requesting an individual development approval for the authorization of the construction of a 12-story, 306-unit, approximately 416,137 square foot multifamily residential building with a height not to exceed 131 feet 2 inches, with additional architectural features, with a maximum total height of 141 feet 11 inches, and a 7-level integrated parking structure that includes 1 level below grade, totaling 147,321 square foot, along with related on-site and off-site landscaping and hardscaping improvements, together with a technical deviation from paragraph 24B1 of the DDRI development order to reduce the required number of off-street parking spaces from 538 spaces to 468 spaces, a reduction of 70 spaces, with the abandonment of a 12-foot wide utility easement and a portion of a 15-foot wide easement, together with the transfer of office equivalent development from downtown sub-area A and B to sub-area D, including a conversion of uses. The property, which currently consists of the approximately 21,921 square foot Arbor Professional Office Park development, will be demolished to accommodate the project. The project has frontage along South Dixie Highway and is adjacent to a city-owned lot, which has additional property frontage along Southeast 3rd Street. Adjoining the property and the city-owned lot to the east is a north-south alleyway, which connects Southeast 3rd Street, Southeast 4th Street, and Southeast 5th Street. All vehicular access, including deliveries and services to the property, will be provided via the alley. There is a portion of the alley that is adjacent to the property, and the property addressed at 33 Southeast 4th Street that is currently unpaved with gravel. So this project will pave that portion of the alley as well. The alley is 20 feet wide and can accommodate 2 vehicular travel lanes. All parking for the property will be provided via the internal parking structure, which will connect to the alley via a 24-foot drive aisle near the southeast corner of the property. And additionally, an 18-foot wide loading area is also provided along the alleyway. The ground floor will consist of a combination of interior and exterior active uses along the western facade for the residents, which include features such as office space, a clubhouse fitness center, a bike room, yoga lawn, putting green, and more. All exterior active uses are located underneath the covered loggias, which are only accessible via gate access from the residents. There are private residential units on each floor, which include a variety of unit types that include studio, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and penthouse units. Other residential amenities are proposed on the 7th level of the project that include a pool and interior lounge space. The project also consists of streetscape improvements along the property frontage, specifically along South Dixie Highway and to the adjacent city-owned lot. The sidewalk along South Dixie Highway will be redeveloped to construct a new 6-foot wide sidewalk with street trees, which will include 12 new bridal veil trees. The adjacent city-owned lot will be redeveloped through a revocable license and perpetual maintenance agreement in connection to this IDA. The city-owned lot will be redeveloped to provide a new meandering path, which varies in width from 6 feet 6 inches to 8 feet, with street trees. There are other shade trees, palms, ground cover, and seating areas proposed that are incorporated into the pathway, which will create a more pedestrian-friendly environment as the street trees and shade trees installed will provide comfort and shade to the pedestrians. Above is a rendering depicting how the city-owned lot would look from the intersection of Southeast 3rd Street and South Dixie Highway. The DDRI development order would require a total of 530 spaces, while the project is only proposing 468 parking spaces. As such, a technical deviation has been requested with this application for the 70-space reduction. The project includes a 7-level internal parking structure, which includes 1 level below grade. A roll-up gate is provided at the beginning of level 2, which is operational after hours from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. There are 79 parking spaces provided prior to the roll-up gate, which include spaces located at the basement level. This parking structure includes 109 compact parking spaces, 27 EV-ready EV parking spaces, and 70 EV-ready parking spaces. This project is also required to provide 27 bicycle parking spaces. The project will provide 2 bike racks that can accommodate up to 8 bicycles within the courtyard along the western facade, which fronts Dixie Highway. Additionally, an approximately 599 square foot bike room is proposed towards the southwest corner of the project, which can accommodate up to 91 extra bicycle parking spaces for the project, and it will include a bicycle repair station. The project requires 40% open space, or 29,736 square feet. This project is providing 29,852 square feet of total open space. This includes areas open to the sky and covered open space, which includes the areas under the covered loggias that are set back from the public sidewalk. Shown are the northern and western elevations. The northern elevation faces towards Southeast 3rd Street, and the western elevation fronts South Dixie Highway. This project incorporates a contemporary application of Meisner design elements and utilizes a neutral color scheme with varied stucco and stone materials. A limestone veneer is applied at the base of the building and provides additional design emphasis within the pedestrian realm. It is utilized as a part of the significant colonnade area that is incorporated along the western facade, which contributes to the pedestrian scale at the ground level. Shown are the southern and eastern elevations. The southern elevation faces an adjacent property, and the eastern elevation fronts the alley to the east, where vehicular access occurs. Along these facades is the proposed parking garage, which is integrated within the overall building design and is screened from the adjacent right-of-ways by the residential units. Additionally, this project was designed pursuant to the Interim Design Guidelines, or IDG, which provide for revised setbacks, building height and massing, and articulation for portions of the building known as the Architectural Opportunity Zone, This allows for the ability to exceed the 100-foot height limitation that is otherwise applicable to non-IDG buildings in the downtown. This building meets the massing standards of the interim design guidelines as 6% of the 35% limitation of the AOZ is used. Therefore, the CRA may grant the additional 40 feet for a total of 140 feet in height. This application also includes the abandonment of 2 easements. The first easement abandonment is for an existing 12-foot wide utility easement highlighted in blue above. The 12-foot wide utility easement contains infrastructure for an 8-inch and a 6-inch water main. A new loop system will be established in the alleyway during the public works review process. The second easement abandonment is for a portion of an existing 15-foot wide easement for roadway purposes, highlighted in green. There is currently no use for the 15-foot easement for roadway purposes due to its location within the site. As such, the easement is proposed to be abandoned. During the analysis of this application, staff found that the project complies with the DDRI development order, including the interim design guidelines. The proposed multifamily residential use is consistent and compatible with the adjacent land uses. The project will transfer institutional peak hour generating OEs from subarea A and B to subarea D. The project will convert the institutional peak hour traffic generating OEs to residential units. The proposed project will construct a new sidewalk along South Dixie Highway and install landscaping with street trees, and it will construct a new sidewalk along Southeast 3rd Street in the city-owned lot and install landscaping with street trees. And staff supports the abandonment of the 12-foot wide utility easement and the portion of the 15-foot wide easement. The Development Service Department recommends approval of the individual development approval application. The project complies with Ordinance 4035 and the interim design guidelines, and the city's urban design consultant reviewed the project and found it to be consistent with Ordinance 4035 and its appendices. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Mr. Salon?
No questions.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes, so the alley behind this is obviously existing. Does it have to be widened to make this project happen?
No, it does not. Since it is an alley, there are no requirements for additional improvements.
For
along it as
right-of-way
well.
or anything on each side?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Ms. McDermott?
No questions.
Mr. Mitchell?
Is the alley going to connect to Fifth?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay. Chair has no questions. With that, I'll open up the public hearing and ask the petitioner to come up, assuming she's finished with her drink.
You don't know what's in there, Mr. Seville.
Yeah.
Good evening,
guess.
Ellie Zacharias, Miskell Backman, 14 Southeast 4th Street. Sorry to be so informal, but does this mean Mr. Morgan had his baby? Do we know?
We're waiting for word on that.
Okay, well, if he did, congratulations. Jacob, thank you very much. Sincerely, thank you. I think this may be the fastest application that in the downtown that has ever moved through the city, and that is thankful to Jacob and Brandon, and of course, Chris and Josh in the city attorney's office as well, so sincerely. Okay, so I'll be very brief. Let me actually start with a bit of a preamble. You all know me very well. You know how much I love our downtown. It truly has my heart, so any application that comes on my desk for downtown for my review, obviously, we all demand that the buildings be beautiful. That goes without saying. But on top of that, with every project I am working on in the downtown, I try desperately, when feasible, when possible, to ensure that the pedestrian is first and foremost at the forefront. The vehicle is very secondary, and when possible, providing little pocket parks. That is what truly makes downtowns great, is having this pedestrian corridor, shade trees, and pocket parks whenever possible. I submit to you today that I believe we've checked all of those boxes, and I personally am very proud to bring this application to you. You all know the location. It's 1.7 acres. This is the current office building. We have some owners here tonight that are there. Tyree Boykin works in this office, Derek Vanderplug, many of which you all know. So what we are proposing is a 306-unit multifamily development in accordance with the IDG. So we can go up to 12 stories, and we have proposed just that. 7-story parking garage that is wrapped on the north and west by residential units, and on the east and south in accordance with the screening requirements of the CAB. We have a mix of unit sizes from studios at 727 square feet to penthouse units at 2,200 square feet. We hope that we have an array of individuals living in there, couples with children, or one single individual living in a 727 square foot apartment. Okay, so again, I mentioned bringing the pedestrian to the forefront. The entire purpose of the IDG is not to have bigger buildings per se. It is a jar of peanut butter that you spread differently. So under Ordinance 4035, your front setback is 6 feet. Under the IDG, your setback needs to be 26 feet. So with that, we're creating this beautiful pedestrian corridor along Dixie Highway. So currently, there is an ingress-egress point right about here. That is their main vehicular point of access. We strategically and intentionally removed that from our plans. And instead, we would like all ingress to happen in the rear, in the alley, as well as all egress. And what that allows us to do is not just to provide that 26 feet of pure pedestrian corridor, but it also allows us to move the sidewalk in and provide shade trees on both sides, again, making it an enjoyable walk and a safe walk, because currently the sidewalk literally is on Dixie Highway. There is no physical safety barrier between the pedestrian and the moving vehicle. In addition to just the 26 feet of pedestrian corridor, we wanted to improve upon that as well. There are areas of our building, especially here, that are over 80 feet setback from the street. We want to ensure, again, not just the sidewalk with shade trees, but we have active uses on that ground floor. Those active uses include a yoga area, putt-putt green golf, little courtyards for individuals to sit and relax. All of that happens outside of our building. Now, inside of our building, it's very important to ensure that there's lights on the ground floor when people are, in fact, walking this entire block. So we paid special attention to make sure our fitness center, our lobbies, things of that nature that have lights on 24/7 are on that ground floor. This is a pretty landscape plan. This is a landscape plan for the 7th floor. As Jacob noted, our parking garage is 7 floors, with the first one being submerged. So this sits on top of the base of the parking garage on the 7th floor, and it is our pool amenity deck. Jacob already noted we meet open space. Okay, so the license agreement. As I noted, pocket parks in our downtown are of extreme importance. So currently there is a little, it's not very large, but it is a piece of land owned by the city that, while is pretty, it's grass with some trees, it's not really usable. So we requested, and the city appears to be, well, they're supportive, hopefully we secure approval for it, a license agreement to re-envision this area as actually a public park. You have little 18-inch cement concrete seats. You have shade trees. There is a tree here that we're actually relocating. I believe it's a mahogany that we're relocating that exists today to this location. And you have meandering sidewalks throughout, truly creating a sense of place. So we have a very clean, as I like to call it, application with one ask. And that ask is with regard to a reduction in parking. Mill Creek is the developer for this project. They also happen to be the second largest multifamily developer in all of the United States of America. They are pleased to report that despite this Boca Raton being their headquarters, this is actually their first project in Boca Raton. So it is quite special to them. But being who they are and how many units they've developed, they know pretty much better than anybody how much parking is required for these developments. We do have John Donaldson, who did an analysis. Mill Creek actually thinks what we're proposing is more than is required. But John, this is where John was comfortable, and staff has reviewed, and traffic staff has reviewed our parking request reduction. I would also add, I think the one thing my takeaway from strategic planning this year was City Council unanimously asking staff to reevaluate our downtown parking requirements, as they are a little more extensive than would be required. So with that, that is our one ask, and that staff has reviewed and does recommend approval. And of course, John Donaldson is here to answer any specific questions regarding that. This is just a beautiful picture of the actual park that we're proposing to the north of our site. This is that pool roof deck. This is a view of both the north and the west facade. And this is it in context. Just to our east is the residences of Boca Raton that previously secured approval. They are in for an amendment right now. I apologize, Mr. Shad, for the late email, but as I walked in, I sent you an email, a letter of support from Wexford for the record. And that's it. Staff has reviewed and recommends approval for all of these reasons that I will not read. And thank you all for your time. The entire team is here to answer any questions. We have ownership, architecture, landscape, traffic, and the like.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the petitioner, Mr. Mitchell?
I do have a question for traffic.
Okay.
Okay.
John Donaldson, 12273 Forest Hill Boulevard.
So I'm looking at one of the pictures, and obviously it looks like if everyone's leaving and entering on the alley, they're either going to go to 3rd or 5th Street to get to Dixie?
Correct. Dixie or Federal, yes.
Right. I currently leave my office every day on 3rd Street if I want to go one direction, so it can get clogged during rush hour. Is there any changes on how Dixie's going to be organized to bring all these extra cars going when you're trying to think of my directions. North is easy because you can turn right. Having to cross over the lanes to turn left to go south sometimes backs up.
Right, and we're thinking with the availability to go on 5th or 3rd, it's going to, traffic the way it is, we look at, okay, here's what we think is going to happen, and then it's like water. It goes to the path of least resistance. So I think what's going to happen is if 3rd does start to get a little squirrely up there, they're going to start using 5th. That's typically what happens. We look, traffic asks us to look at 5th. We weren't even looking at it first, and there's a lot of available capacity at that intersection with 5th and Dixie, actually, and 5th and Federal. So there's plenty of room down there. So if it starts to get a little congested, people will do that because it's only 1,000 or so feet out of their way.
Okay.
Anything else?
No further questions.
Okay. Mr. Dornblaser?
No question.
Mrs. Salon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just observation, I know the city worked with the applicant on this city park at the north end of the property, which I am really excited to have, and thank you guys very much, both of you. Mark Jacobson, I noticed on the tree schedule that you put in some seriously big material in that park. I see you got, the code requires a 10-foot tree, but you've got 3 18-foot live oaks, 20-foot Royal Poinciana, and 22-foot gumbo limbo. So thank you very much for doing that, you and staff. Thank you, sir.
That's it. I have a question.
Okay.
How do you ration the EV spaces in the garage?
That's above my pay grade. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah.
John Grimaldi, I live at 3210 North University Drive in Coral Springs, Florida. Basically, we've concentrated the EV parking spaces on the second, third, and fourth level. There are some on the ground level by the lobby entrance for guests or visitors or future residents, but we do plan on leasing those. We assign spaces, and in all likelihood, there'll be a small surcharge to be able to park there. There'll be a dedicated space for the resident to basically park there on a permanent basis. And as was shown on the slides, we do have 27 active spaces to start with, but we have the capacity to add 70 additional EV parking spaces if they become required. We actually put in a separate transformer just to be able to power all the spaces. So that's something that we as a company take very seriously, to be able to put the capacity in to meet the growing demand for electric vehicles.
So they're level 2 chargers?
Level 2 chargers, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions for staff, for the petitioner? Ms. McDermott?
I'd like to ask the landscape architect about the existing trees that are there. I know you mentioned that you're going to relocate one of the mahoganies, but it looks like there are a lot of trees currently there. Are you able to build around them or move them?
Hi, Mark Jacobson, 2300 Northwest Corporate Boulevard. We had an arborist and a tree moving company come evaluate all the trees on site. While it was our intention and our client's intention originally to try and move the 2 large banyan trees, it was determined that by the tree mover and the arborist, in order to do that, we would really dismantle the look of the tree. So by the time we moved it, it wouldn't look anything like it currently does. It's just too big. And if you've been to the site, you know that it's got arms that, I mean, the thing's probably 20, 25 foot wide. But we did, in either case, relocate 2 mahoganies, one on the corner and one in their little courtyard. So we're trying to do the right thing and relocate a couple of large trees. The rest of them, honestly, didn't meet any of the criteria that we thought would be, that would work well for the site. Otherwise, we would have done that as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, this is thank you.
Mr. Seville, could John just follow up on one
Sure.
of Mr. Mitchell's?
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention, which I should have, since this is residential, the flow is exactly the opposite of the office. So they're actually going to be, not going to be competing with each other, they're going to be going against each other. So it's going to be a little bit easier. The office won't feel the residential, and the residential won't feel the office, is the way it should work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Do we have any cards?
I have 2 cards. Jose Padua. Okay, he passes. And Terry Boykin.
Good evening. My name is Tyree Boykin, and I'm currently officed in the Arbor at 400 South Dixie Highway, Suite 324. I have an architectural practice in that office, and I've been there since for 18 years now. Love the location, but I'd like to tell you why I hope you'll approve this project. I look at things as a season and in the history of a lifetime. And I feel like we're in a different season in Boca Raton. When I first moved to that office, I thought I'll never leave that office. But a few years ago, I had some clients who met me in my office, and they came down from the north. They got off on Spanish River, came over to Dixie and came down to my office, and when they came in, they said, "Ty, we were a little worried about you. We didn't know they stuck you in the bad part of town." And it made me angry. I told my wife about it. She said, they may be speaking from their heart even though it's unfiltered. And so I began to look as I ride up and down Dixie Highway how we have neglected that roadway, and it parallels the Bright Line. And we ask people from Miami and Fort Lauderdale to come up and enjoy our town, and we drag them through the worst piece of real estate that we have in town. And I don't think that's the way we should operate the city. I think this is a beautiful building. Architecturally, it's beautiful. The landscape architecture is beautiful. And this is what we need up and down Dixie Highway, that people understand the importance of the great aesthetic that Boca Raton has. I think this is going to be an asset to our community. I'm happy to have relocated my office to a place nearby because I think this serves the greater good, and I think you should really consider this in lieu of the way we talk about ways that we should improve Dixie Highway, but we don't think about it like this. This is kind of driving in the peg and saying, this is what the building should look like. Let's celebrate Dixie Highway so when people come through our city by the Bright Line, they don't think they've ended up in the wrong town. So I'd appreciate it if you'd approve it, and I support this project. It's a great-looking building.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Last call. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll look for a motion and a second to approve.
Move to approve.
So seconded.
Okay, any discussion? Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And Chair Seville?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Everyone? Okay. Just give everybody a few minutes to walk out. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Last item on our agenda is the Barrel of Monks on Rogers Circle. Karen, would you please read that item into the record?
Yes, sir. Item C, Barrel of Monks, 1141 South Rogers Circle. Recommendation to the City Council regarding a resolution of the City of Boca Raton considering for the approximately 4.1 acre property generally located at 1141 South Rogers Circle, an amended and restated conditional use approval, amending restating resolution number 23-2014, as amended by resolution number 1/2016, for the Barrel of Monks Brewery to expand the accessory brewery tasting area from approximately 867 square feet of interior space to approximately 1,728 square feet of interior space and approximately 1,000 square feet of outdoor patio space. B, change the hours of operation of the accessory tasting areas. C, authorize the incidental sale of beverages not manufactured at the brewery. And D, amend the conditions of approval to allow the serving and consumption of alcohol in the outdoor patio tasting area, providing for repealer, providing an effective date. CA 1304 R2/PZ/2025-00005.
Thank you. Ex parte communications, anyone? Ms. McDermott?
I spoke with Ellie on a Zoom call.
Mr. Mitchell?
I spoke with Ellie on a Zoom call as well.
Okay. Mr. Dornblaser?
I spoke with Ellie Zacharitis. I have spoken with Bill McPhee, the owner, and I've been to the site countless times.
Okay. How recently? Mr. Salon?
Today?
Yeah.
I had a Zoom meeting with Ellie Zacharitis to discuss the merits of the case.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Ellie Zacharitis as well, and I visited the site and did not partake in any of the products. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Heather Hansen to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Heather Hansen, and I have been sworn in. The brewery is located in the M3 Manufacturing Industrial District within the Penn, Florida Commerce Center building in the South Congress Industrial Center. An amended and restated conditional use approval related to the accessory brewery tasting areas is what's being requested. And all four of the items being requested are changes to amending the conditions of approval from the previous approval. So the first is expanding the tasting areas, as you heard in the title. So currently there is it's a tasting room on the ground floor, and there's a bar, so that area is slightly larger. There's also a room upstairs in the mezzanine second floor that is available for tasting for private events as well. And then there is an outdoor seating area where they serve beverages. It's about 1,000 square feet. They also are modifying the opening hours of operation Friday through Sunday. It currently opens at 4 on Friday. It will open at 4 on Friday instead of 2. So that helps as far as potential impacts from the adjacent uses, which are generally, they've closed by 4. And noon on Saturday and Sunday instead of 2 p.m. on Saturday and 4 p.m. on Sunday. So they'll be open for lunch on the weekends. And then it would allow for the incidental sale of beverages not manufactured at the brewery, such as wine, canned cocktails, and soft drinks, and the serving and consuming of alcohol at the existing outdoor patio. So here are the areas. Here's the outdoor patio tasting area. This is the indoor tasting area, and then upstairs is this room, and this is all open. It's a mezzanine. The brewery is already operating under these conditions being requested. They had made some of these changes and evidently didn't realize they needed some sort of review and approval. So it's out of compliance with the conditions of approval from the previous conditional use, but the current operations would be legalized by the approval of this application. And concurrently, the applicant has requested an amended and restated site plan approval to authorize that outdoor patio area and change in the approved landscaping. That's going to be reviewed with the site plan, but the approved landscaping, I don't think it ever actually, never actually got improved the way it had been originally approved. There was supposed to be some landscaping where there's a patio area, but now there are shrubs in here. So that'll be reviewed with the site plan. So this is briefly just the changes that would be approved. So the manufacturing area is the same size. The warehouse storage will be slightly smaller. The first floor reception area a little bit larger. The office space would be a little larger. And then there's the addition of the tasting area in the mezzanine and the outdoor patio tasting area. That's a summary. As far as analysis, the use is compatible with the existing and planned development, and the character of the district is suitable for the use. The brewery tasting areas are open when the vast majority of the surrounding commercial and industrial uses are closed. The brewery tasting area provides a gathering place for adults and families to socialize, play cards and board games, listen to live music, play bingo, etc. And yes, I have been there myself. The Commerce Center building has 222 parking spaces. The applicant submitted an updated shared parking analysis that determined that the weekday peak demand requires 191 spaces and the weekend peak requires 86 spaces. Therefore, there's adequate parking at the property. The existing building, property, and infrastructure are adequate for the expanded use, and no adverse impacts are anticipated. And the property, as I mentioned, is zoned M3 with a compatible comprehensive plan, future land use map designation of IM. And the comprehensive plan does anticipate other uses in the IM flume in some cases. So the Development Services Department recommends approval of this conditional use amendment, subject to the conditions set forth. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Mrs. Salon?
No questions.
Stormlaser? No questions. Mitchell?
No questions.
Ms. McDermott? The chair has no questions. With that, I'll ask the petitioner to make her very brief presentation.
Ellie Zacharitis, Miskell Backman, 14 Southeast 4th Street again for the record. Heather, thank you so much. Brandon, honestly, thank you both very much. This was one of those, let's rush and get this through, and we really appreciate everyone's help. My very long presentation, Mr. Seville, I will refrain unless you all have any questions.
Okay. Any questions for the petitioner? Okay. You're off the hook.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
This
you.
is a public hearing. Does anybody from the public want to speak on this item?
We do have one card, sir.
Okay.
It's Jessica Dornblazer.
You have 3 minutes of podium time. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, anybody else? And close the public hearing, look for a motion and a second for approval.
Motion to approve.
So seconded.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to make a comment and say I want to thank Brandon and staff for making this happen very quickly. I know there's a lot of complaints about a lot of times how slow the city moves and certain things, but good job. I mean, this one got turned around quickly, and I know there's a business out there that greatly appreciates it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? With that, please call the roll, Karen.
Yes. Mr. Dornblaser?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Seville?
Yes,
And Mr. Salon?
Yes.
Unanimous, sir.
thank you. Okay, this public request, does anybody from the public want to speak about anything at all? Last call. Okay. Public requests are closed. Okay, do we have any director's report?
No report.
Okay. Then with that, at 7:31, we are adjourned.